Disappointment in the game of life.
Well, here we are, folks. The final curtain call. The absolute bottom of the barrel, worst of the worst Illumination movie by a massive landslide is Hop. As soon as I saw that the opening credits were using the default iMovie font, I knew I was in for some truly transcendent awfulness, the likes of which all the other Illumination movies could only dream of aspiring towards. And yet, even with this harbinger of cringe in place, I don't think it fully hits you at first just how bad the hellspawn you're about to consume is. When you first start watching this movie, you think to yourself, oh hey, this isn't the worst thing I've ever seen, it's just kind of a regular bad movie. But then, you start to notice some things. You notice that the main character Bunny is the most unlikable character in the film. You notice how the plot is going absolutely nowhere until the last 20 minutes or so. You notice the questionable racial implications at play with the villain, as well as the fact that he's genuinely more sympathetic and deserving to win than the quote-unquote good guys. Eventually, your brain starts to collapse in on itself into a fucking black hole of embarrassment that you feel for everyone involved with the production of this movie.
You need to stop this.
When the bunny sat down to ask David Hasselhoff for advice with his internal conflict, I had to ask myself out loud, is this real? Is this a real movie that I'm actually watching right now? Or is this a kerprank? Any minute now, Justin Kerprank is gonna pop up from behind my computer and say, psych! There's no way actual human beings created a film this abysmal, but they did it. This was Illumination's second movie, and their first and only live-action animation hybrid. I guess it's nice that they learned from this horrific mistake and never tried to do anything like it again. But it's not so nice for me, because I still had to sit through it. Hop is a movie about E.B., who is a bunny whose dad is the Easter Bunny, and he wants him to take over the Easter Bunny role. But E.B. does not want to be the successor because he wants to be a drummer. So right off the bat, you can see that this movie clearly influenced Whiplash and Succession. Two pieces of art that pale in comparison to the sheer cinematic masterpiece that they shamelessly ripped off. Anyway, E.B. escapes to LA and meets James Marsden and generally ruins his life by being selfish and annoying. He trashes the mansion that belongs to James Marsden's sister's boss, who is a character we never see, so I don't even know why this is a plot point. He acts like a shitbag to this little girl who can't sing and then pretends it was James Marsden saying that in a ventriloquist act. Then they uproot the entire pageant and sing I Want Candy, which I think is perhaps the most annoying song ever written.
You need to stop this.
Uh-oh, James Marsden needs to make sure nobody knows the bunny can talk, and he's constantly gotta hide him. But then they just go to a diner and the bunny talks to the waiter and she doesn't care that he's a talking bunny. So does it matter if people know the bunny can talk or not? Because it doesn't seem to matter at all. That's the cool thing about this movie. Not only do none of the scenes flow together into a coherent narrative, but the scenes also just happen without any consequence whatsoever. Like I said, the boss who owns the mansion isn't in the movie, so it doesn't matter that they wrecked his house. The girl gets mad at James Marsden for embarrassing her in front of everyone at the pageant, but then that's forgotten about entirely and seems resolved by the end. And then I guess no one gives a shit that a bunny can talk, so who cares about hiding the bunny? E.B. goes to audition for David Hasselhoff's talent competition. And yes, this is a major plot point and the bunny's entire plan for getting famous. And he asks David Hasselhoff,
You're not surprised that I'm a talking rabbit?
And he says,
My best friend's a talking car.
Get it? It's a reference to a TV show that aired from 1982 to 1986. One that children in the year 2011 when this movie came out would have intimate knowledge of. Did nobody on the set of Knight Rider tell David Hasselhoff that this show wasn't real? David, that wasn't a real talking car, buddy. I think his brains might have gotten fried when he got hit with that blast in the SpongeBob movie. But oh no! All is not well in the world of Hop 2011. Because the 3 beret ninja rabbits that were sent by E.B.'s dad to track him down are tracking him down. For some reason, even though E.B. and his dad are talking bunnies, these girls don't talk, cause I guess that required effort to write dialogue for them. Eventually, E.B. tricks them by faking his own death and pretending he got boiled alive, even though that's clearly just a turkey. He then realizes, oh no, I just remembered that they're probably gonna assume James Marsden killed me and then kidnap him. Oh well, I'm sure he'll be fine. And then he abandons James Marsden and the exact scenario I just described plays out. What a cool and likable character. Remember when the sister thought he was a stuffed animal and hugged him, and he used that opportunity to sniff her hair? What a cool character. Anyway, believe it or not, we haven't gotten to my least favorite thing about the movie yet. So the Easter Bunny employs all these chicks to make the eggs at his factory. But Carlos, the literal second in command at the factory, feels like after all these years of hard work, he deserves to take over the business. Especially since EB doesn't even want to do it. Yet for some bizarre reason, EB's dad only wants bunnies to be in charge of Easter, and won't even consider a chick taking over. By the way, the bunnies have British accents, and Carlos has a Hispanic accent. So yeah, like I said, for some bizarre, unexplained reason, EB's dad really does not want a chick to be in charge of the factory. So Carlos decides that he wants to take over by force and seize the means of production for his fellow workers. But uh-oh, that's evil. So it's a good thing the good bunnies can fight back against those evil chicks and maintain control in the end, and force the chicks to do their bidding. What a happy ending. Okay, so putting aside any readings you might want to take away from the text on your own time, if you just look at what happens in the movie on the baseline surface level, Carlos literally does nothing wrong until the last 20 minutes. I'm serious. For 2/3 of this movie, he merely tries to imply to EB's dad that he should consider letting a chick take over the business. So if the movie wants him to be the antagonist, it doesn't work because he does nothing antagonistic. There's no reason why he shouldn't be put in charge of the factory, and he's trying to make that fact clear peacefully. When that doesn't work, he takes over by force, and it feels warranted, because he deserves it more than this stuffy old moron and his piece of shit son. I was actively cheering when he was trying to kill EB, because I don't know how you could watch this movie and not want EB to die a slow, painful death. Literally, the only bad things Carlos does is trying to kill James Marsden. Like, yeah, okay, he didn't really do anything bad, so that's kind of fucked. And replacing Easter candy with bird food, which is just such a dumb thing the movie pulls out of its ass in the final act. Like, they never established that Carlos had a problem with children eating candy. It reeks of something they just threw in there so the children in the audience could finally have a reason to root against Carlos, because it's blatantly obvious that he was right the whole time. But do you want to know the real kicker? The most insane fucking thing about all of this? It's the fact that at the end, with absolutely zero hesitation after EB requests it, EB's dad appoints James Marsden as the new co-Easter Bunny. Wait a minute, Mr. EB's dad. I thought only bunnies could be the Easter Bunny. What exactly is the problem with the Hispanic chicken who's been your loyal second in command for years being in charge of Easter? What's so different about this mediocre guy with zero qualifications that allows him to take over? What's the difference, huh? What's the difference, motherfucker? But yeah, James Marsden gets to be co-Easter Bunny just cause he really wanted it and he really loves the Easter Bunny. I mean, there was also a whole montage where he did some training for it. Intercut with Carlos also doing similar training for it. They both equally wanted it, except one was actually qualified for it. So yeah, what was the difference here, Mr. EB's dad, huh? Okay, that's enough complaining about this movie. I think it's time I talk about the stuff that I actually liked about it. Here goes. And that's everything I liked about it. Wow, that was a pretty short list. Essentially, this movie is on the exact same level of quality as the live-action Smurf movies, except without Gargamel in them. And Gargamel was the only good part of those movies, so yeah. There is nothing of value in this movie whatsoever, and it is legitimately one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. You really have to get on my bad side to be a 1 out of 10 movie. But this one absolutely earned it. I fucking despised everything about it, and I sincerely hope people don't actually watch it every time Easter rolls around. I can't think of a more fitting end to such an abysmal, soul-crushing ranking.
I'm free, I'm free.
Fuck